Hello and welcome to this episode of Film Seizure. I'm Jeff Arbuckle, joined as always by my cohorts, my fellow psychos, Jason Oliver. Jason, how's it going?
Feeling a little mad. A little mad.
A little mad? A little mad?
Yeah.
Why don't you just go away? Get away from this.
Everyone goes a little mad sometimes, Jason.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck, for being so supportive.
And that was Chuck. Chuck, how are you doing?
Honestly, great. I'm great.
Okay. How's Mother doing? Is Mother still hanging out in the window?
Yeah, she's yes, she's in the window. With nothing clever to say there.
Yeah. Anybody move their mom to the fruit cellar recently?
We got rid of our fruit cellar.
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't using it enough.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. So, so this week we are diving into Alfred Hitchcock for the very first time. Eventually, we'll probably do a lot of Alfred Hitchcock business, but this is our first foray into this. So
that's kind of surprising.
We've always wanted to do. I mean, we've always wanted to do Hitchcock, but we just hadn't gotten to it yet. Just hadn't gotten there yet.
And never wanted to do Hitchcock. I'm joking.
You never ever wanted to?
Never once.
All right, I'm back. Sorry, I had to switch internet there.
No, that's all right. I was just saying that we were talking about Psycho. This is our first foray into the world of Hitchcock, the Hitchcockian filmography.
You picked this one. What made you choose Psycho?
Well, I figured at some point we're probably going to do a bunch of Hitchcock, and we might as well go ahead and take this one off the table because it's so easy to for it to take a spot in a month, and it's one that we probably wanted to talk about for a while.
Okay.
And I figured, you know what? I was kind of, thinking about because we've also at the end of this month, we're going to have episode number 250, and that's going to be, I was trying to figure out, it's like, well, what are some things that we can kind of help build up to it? What was some kind of interesting or fun conversations that we can have to build up to our 250th extravaganza? And I thought, Psycho will probably, probably have a nice little conversation around it. And to be honest with you, and this was kind of one of the things that I'll just go ahead and launch into it, I guess. Doing Monster Mondays, I get to see a lot of thrillers or horror or monster movies or whatever, right? And it gets me thinking about the history of horror. And yeah. I would say that Psycho is right in the middle of a timeline that consists of 5 of the most important horror movies.
Ooh, 5 of the most important, huh?
Yeah, and the first one I think is, on the earliest one on the timeline is the original Nosferatu. It turned horror into art on film, and that.
I mean, it's also just one of the first.
Well, sure, but I mean, even earlier than that, there were shorts that were like a Frankenstein movie or something that was done. Edison did a Frankenstein movie, but it took something that was kind of awful and made it pretty to look at.
Yeah,
and and of course, it also
Edison's
a lot of
Frankenstein was only was that only 10
it was
minutes long?
15 minutes or something. Yeah, it was a short film. But it also between that and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and stuff like that was very influential to American films and particularly American horror. So the next stop on my timeline is the kind of 1-2 punch of Dracula and Frankenstein.
Okay.
Because that created the horror genre for decades after that. The gothic horror, the universal classics, which I mean, there's a whole other argument that can be made that Psycho technically belongs in that, even though it would be put into it in retrospect because Universal picked up the distribution rights for it from Paramount.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's a getting into the weeds I don't feel like getting into.
Well, that's the whole production around Psycho is an interesting story in and of itself.
Right.
But
Yeah, but I mean, like, the Universal classics, I mean, some people say it ended in the mid 50s, some people said it ended in 60, 61, somewhere around there. But the next big one is Jaws, because that is horror in a different way that proliferated. Every single person in the mid 70s saw Jaws in the theater. It seemed like. So, I mean, it was a big deal. And it showed that you can have some different ways of approaching horror. And then the end of that is Halloween, just because of the subgenre that it created, that even though there's been a brief period of time where there weren't slasher movies, it's still going today, and people are still trying to be the next Halloween. But Psycho, right in the middle of that timeline, is kind of the first to explore some Ed Gein business and some of that mid-century real life true crime stuff, and kind of morph it into a different into drama.
Yeah, I think Psycho is an interesting case because you had Michael Powell's Peeping Tom that came out about 2 years before this in the UK, and it was reviled, absolutely reviled by pretty much everyone, and it was buried, and it ended Michael Powell's career. And it delved into a lot of issues of voyeurism and psychosexual psychosis and just serial killing in general, right? Which serial killer has not been, it's not like a new thing in the 60s.
No.
It goes back to Fritz Lang's M, and
sure,
hell, you had Night of the Hunter. You have lots of movies about serial killers. Even those two movies are about serial killers of children, right? Well, I guess maybe not so much Night of the Hunter, but anyway. But then Psycho comes out, and sure, nobody wanted to make it, but Hitchcock was able to get it made by making a lot of concessions, essentially funding it himself, and so on. But it is probably his most popular movie ever. I think it made like $60 million or something like that, and it honestly changed the game. Like, it's been argued, and I think successfully, that what Hitchcock did was he subverted the film noir, which film noir came out about in the 50s to subvert the Hays Code, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 40s and 50s. It was all about kind of innuendo, double entendre, right? All the things you couldn't say, but it's said in the subtext. Well, Psycho came along, and it fucking did away with the subtext. It made it text, right? And it was the beginning of the end of the Hays Code. And as such, it was the beginning of the end of film noir. And more into, straight up horror.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, is it the first time in a film that the outdated term transvestite was used on screen?
Maybe, probably. I mean, I don't know.
I've got stuff to talk about.
It's the first time. It's the first time that they showed a toilet.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
I've got stuff to say about that final scene because I kind of hate that final scene.
Oh, I actually kind of don't like the whole last third of this movie. If I'm being honest, like, this isn't anywhere near my favorite Hitchcock, but
sure.
It is extremely important. Like, it is one of those movies I legitimately, if I could pick a handful of movies I wish I could have seen an opening night, this would be one of them for sure.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't show up late. Hitchcock would have not let you in, because he cloned himself and went to every movie theater and held the door shut for anybody who came in late.
Because I don't know if a lot of people realize, I think we do, but I don't know if a lot of people do realize the effect this had on audiences, this movie. And truly like how landmark it was in Hollywood motion picture industry. I mean, it was transformative in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And how movies were made, marketed, shot, I mean, everything. It all pretty much changed. And everybody tried to make the next Psycho, right? Just like after Jaws, everybody tried to make the next Jaws.
Yeah, I mean, Dementia 13 came out shortly after this and did the exact same thing that this movie's known for.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to follow a character for about half of it.
I mean, you could probably argue that Giallo was directly referencing Psycho when it was created.
Yeah.
Oh,
almost definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had that whole Italian run up until Halloween, right? Like
yeah, and the earliest Giallos were right on the heels of this. Yeah,
62, I think. If you count Blood and Black Lace as the first, I think it's 62.
Yeah.
Other people say, well, there's two names for the film. I can't remember either of them right now. That his previous film was,
but it was still post 1960.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about the final scene because there's one thing I love about it, but I hate that final scene. It ruins a perfect movie.
It's just so spoon feeding, you know?
Right.
And
but the guy doing the spoon feeding, I'll just go ahead and say it. The guy who's doing the spoon feeding, Simon Oakland, is the editor Vincenzo on The Night Stalker, is Kolchak's boss. And it's like, I love that dude. That dude's awesome. So I love that element, but no, it's not a good scene. It's not a good scene.
I'll be honest, I kind of start to tune out after the death of
Martin Balsam.
Yeah, the investigator Arbogast. Yeah. I do really, really like the scene where Loomis is interrogating Perkins.
Yeah, that's aggressive.
Yeah, it's a good scene, and Perkins, you know, Bates is just, you know, he's trying to deflect the best he can, but it's all coming at him way too fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Chuck, what are some thoughts you have just to kind of to get things rolling here?
Yeah, I think I would kind of echo Jason's thoughts that like maybe 2/3 of this movie I'm all in, and then at the end it kind of falls apart. It was interesting watching this time because I don't know why, but I always forget the first third of this movie. You know, the
whole thing about the money.
The reason that
the film noir part of it.
Yeah. It's like a normal ass movie for like 30 minutes, like intrigue, and she's running from, and it's actually really clever, I think, too, because it's like barreling you down one road.
Yeah.
Where you think what's dangerous to her is behind her.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and we think that because she makes so many mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's just, I mean.
So you'd almost, if you don't know this story, and this goes back to what Jason said earlier, if you didn't know this story, you'd have no clue what's coming, and you'd be like, what the hell just happened?
Right. It lulls you into this kind of false sense of, oh, this is just about a person who makes a mistake. You know, and you know, she's dealing with it. You almost forget that the movie's called Psycho and that she's not psycho.
Right.
You know, so what does that mean?
The name of the movie almost kind of like makes you think too much. I would think. I mean, I meant to go back and look at the early trailers for this movie because I don't know how it was presented.
Oh.
What were they? Did you watch?
Well, no, it's famous. It's Alfred Hitchcock walking you through the crime scenes.
That's right. I remember that, walking you through the crime scenes. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's you know, he talks about like how the killer came into the bathroom, and, you know, and did all of this, and then he goes into the room, and it's like, and then she slashed him, and he fell down. And she
Yeah.
had, she stood over him in the attack, and he's like,
Yeah.
he's describing all of the murders.
Yeah.
And
So I guess you would have a clue if you
Yeah,
saw
I
the
think you
trailers. It's
would.
kind of interesting that they approached
I
it.
don't think anyone expected Janet Leigh to die, though. You kind of expect your heroine to foil the bad guy in the end in some way, right?
well, you expect her to resolve her issue
Yeah.
one way or another. She gets arrested, or she is, she.
Oh, it's
returns.
resolved all right.
But it's not resolved. Yeah, you're right. You don't expect for her to be dead, and that's how it's resolved.
And I mean, going along with that film noir, angle, she had just come off of, I think, Touch of Evil was 2 years before this, which was kind of a mixed reviewed noir, but now it's like considered one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
But it does feel like this very conventional kind of crime plot, right?
Yeah.
She wakes up in the hotel room with her, at post coitus, right? Because it's always post coitus in film noirs.
We see her knickers a lot.
Yeah, we do. Apparently,
and
that
I
was
ain't
one of the
complaining.
things that was cut. There, you can watch the uncut version of it now. It was just made available a couple years ago for the first time in the United States, and there's like 45 seconds extra or something, and there's actually, I think, a scene where she's putting on or taking off her brassiere, right? So it's a little bit more risque.
Yeah.
Yeah, the censors just couldn't have that. It was just too much. Too much.
Yeah, it's that whole first part, like, most people don't, and like, you forget. I forgot why she stole the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because her boyfriend is wrecked with debt.
Yeah.
I mean,
She wants to lick the stamps. That's what she wants.
well, she wants to lick something.
That damn it's alimony, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and yeah, because they have to kind of sneak around because he's it's not couth for them to be seen together right now.
Right.
But if he can clear everything up, then they can have like a more traditional life or whatever that means. I mean, John Gavin was just in Spartacus in that year, same year too. So that's a pretty good year.
That's a damn good year. Yep.
I just want to comment that in Profile, you can totally see Jamie Lee Curtis when you're looking at her mom.
Oh, yeah.
Like Dead On,
Yeah.
I don't really see it. Like you could see it, but Profile, I'm like, oh, it looks just like her. It's kind of weird.
Right.
And I mean, Jamie Lee is. You could see both mom and dad quite strikingly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You get that. Speaking of Spartacus, Tony Curtis was in Spartacus. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he was. I bet he just did not even attempt an accent. I know Tony Curtis. I've seen.
Tony Curtis.
I know. I've seen him in movies where he should have an accent.
One other thing about that first third that I thought was pretty awesome is that when she's making, it seems like, she didn't say it out loud, obviously, her final decision to steal the money, the shower head in her bathroom is in the back of the shot.
Yeah, there's a couple of shots in that because you also in that scene see shadows of the crew of the camera, just briefly, and when it's like looking at the bed and it's like going in on the money, and then you can kind of see a little bit of a shadow in the bottom right, and it's interesting because it's not perfectly shot, but it makes you feel like you're there with her.
Yeah.
It's like you're almost there to try to tell her, what are you doing? Don't do this.
Come on, stupid.
Yeah. I love the cowboy oil guy who comes in, who's buying the house for his daughter. Oh my God. Him hitting on her. And then when she's thinking back to what they're probably saying about her, and he's like, and she flirted with me. It's like she didn't do anything.
I also love the woman that she works with.
Oh God, yeah.
He was totally flirting with you. He must have seen my wedding ring.
Right.
Yeah.
She's just not interested she is so like a million miles away in that scene. It's hilarious.
it's really good too when she's driving and having that moment you were describing where people are talking about her and she just has this devious fucking smile on her face.
Yeah, because it's like they're saying awful things, but she does not look like she's scared.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, fuck them. It's like
What I love about that too is you can take it two different ways, right? You can take it, in the sense that these are things that these people are actually saying, unbeknownst to her, or it's the things that she's imagining that they're saying when they might be saying it, right? And it's a really fun exercise because he puts the smile over at a point in time where she's like, yeah, I'm glad I stole this fucking money, Yeah.
Yeah, I took that scene as what the people actually said. I don't know why. I didn't even consider that. I mean, I know she was probably thinking about it. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like everything she does is just the wrong thing.
Oh God.
She first of all, she takes the money. That's numero uno problem.
I didn't have a problem with that. It's when she sold her car that I.
Well, it was the whole thing was pointless.
It was pointless.
The whole thing was pointless
because the cop followed her anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, and she's acting weird.
What a menacing cop too, man.
I know. It's like he's he's got a face that's pretty good for a profile picture though. On Facebook.
Yeah, he does.
Got those classic cop glasses.
Yeah,
he's scary.
Reflective aviators.
Yeah,
yeah, he is. And
but it feeds that Noir paranoia too, right?
Right. And
the distrust of just you're a common man, right?
Right. Well, and you get nervous because she's acting so nervous.
Yeah.
And it's like at any minute she's going to fuck all this up.
Yeah, she's totally uncool.
Right. And it's like she just wants to buy a damn car for reasons who knows. But
what's great about that is that you feel the same way for Norman later when Arbogast is interrogating him. And Norman is made all this not the same mistakes, but similarly dumb mistakes, right?
Well, Norman,
and you kind of feel bad for Norman because you don't know. You don't know if you can watch this movie for the 100th time and still pretend you don't know that he's not the killer, that he's covering it. You think he's covering up for his mom. You can kind of feel for him.
Oh,
right?
By the way, spoilers. Jeez.
Even that though, like even watching it now for the 100th time. You don't know how much of it he is aware of either when he's Norman, so it still kind of works.
I mean, Norman is extremely sympathetic.
Oh yes,
and
it's a great performance.
And in a way, I guess that is one positive other thing I could say about Simon Oakland, like explaining it all to us, that it's only making us feel right to be sympathetic for the killer.
Right.
You know, it's weird. The last Psycho I watched was Psycho 2, and while I think
I like that movie.
That is the most watchable Psycho.
But Anthony Perkins is kind of bad in it. Like, his acting isn't great. So when I watched this one, I was like, I don't remember him being this good.
He's a bit hammy. He's a bit hammy in 2.
Yeah, and in 1, he's like, it's like almost perfect.
Yeah.
Like maybe it is perfect.
It is perfect. Yeah. He doesn't put a bad, look anywhere in this movie. It's just it's all so good.
That scene when he gives her the bread and the sandwiches or whatever he gives her, like, is just masterful on both sides. I think they're both excellent in it.
Yep. Well, yeah, because she's not giving away anything except for she fucks up again by giving her real name.
Yeah.
But she's dodging, some of the questions or some of the conversation points. She's just speaking her mind about what she heard with Norman's mother yelling at him.
She's kind of talking about herself.
Well,
in a matter of speaking, she's like maybe either convincing herself that what she did is right to leave. Like, why don't you just leave? Because she just did that. Right,
but he's also kind of convincing her to fix it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a weird tug of war in that scene that just plays wonderfully. But the way he's shot, though, I mean, come on, those birds are hanging over. Like he is the predator in this situation.
And then he calls her a bird.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So like the warnings are there if you're paying attention for sure.
Oh, he is going to stuff that.
Yeah.
With a knife.
Right into a trunk.
Right into a trunk and into a swamp. When he dumps the car, that cracks me up so much.
Every
because
time I wait for it.
Yeah, because it stops halfway and then he's like, he's like looking around.
Well, that's another one of those audience moments, right?
It's like, Hitchcock, man.
Like that scene,
it's
that scene doesn't totally work unless you kind of sympathize with them,
right?
You know. And
it's the
you're like, go down.
You're like, go down. Yeah. Don't tell me you don't want it to go down, right?
Right.
I mean, how devious is that? Like, that's such great manipulation. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's Hitchcock too, kind of interjecting some comedy into some pretty dark moments.
Most definitely.
Yeah, it's. But was
this the movie that made taxidermy creepy? Also, by the way,
I mean, isn't it always?
Or was it always creepy?
It's always kind of creepy. Like some of it's cool, but then you see, like, I go to Horror Hound, right? So I see the taxidermy stand,
right?
And it's like some of it's really cool until you see the gigantic fucking bird eater spider on the corner, and you're like, I'm done. I'm moving on to the next table. It's like I'm through with this.
It just seems like anytime you see anyone who's into taxidermy in anything, you're kind of like the suspect.
You did it. I'm sure of it.
Well, that's just giving us. That's giving me forewarning that accents are going to be insane next week.
Probably.
And I guess that's kind of an Ed Gein thing too, right? Because didn't he make like weird skin lamps and shit like that?
He made skin lamps.
He made your rib cages into coffee tables. Okay.
Yeah, and I think he put skulls on chairs, like on the arms of chairs and stuff too.
But I also read that he actually only killed one person.
Yeah, he was a grave robber.
He was a grave robber.
He was a
That's
grave
what
robber.
It was. Yeah. Did he kill his mother? Is that what it was?
Well, maybe I don't know. We need to get a true crime person then on this episode.
Yeah.
Where's my wife when you need her? The rib cages into coffee tables. That's a line from a Blind Melon song about.
Oh,
Ed
twice.
Gein,
He was killed.
which
He
is
killed
awesome.
twice. Sorry, I talked over you there.
That's
no.
fired.
I got it, and yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a great song. It's a great tune. They play the kazoo in it.
I'm always a fan of kazoos, especially in inappropriate moments.
Yeah. I mean, it's a happy song about murdering people and turning their bodies into furniture. It's fantastic.
I'm on board for that too.
So when did Ed Gein get, like, was he a literal?
Yeah, well, the book was inspired by Ed Gein.
Right.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes.
And
that was
so
Robert Bloch.
therefore the movie by association was as well. Yeah.
I didn't realize Ed Gein was that long ago.
He was mid-50s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, let's see here. Oh, yeah, so Robert Bloch, he wrote the screenplay for a remake of Cabinet of Dr. Caligari in 1962.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's not the one that they made in the 80s, is it?
No. This was in 1962.
Because that one is bonkers.
Yeah, no.
Well, Robert Bloch also wrote a sequel to Psycho that was not accepted as the sequel movie.
No.
But it's actually a pretty interesting story. I won't go into all of it, but it's sort of subverts again who the killer is, right? Yeah. But in a really interesting way.
Well, because it deals with, it deals with the aftermath of the things that happen in this movie.
Yeah, and in a weird way, I read the synopsis for this not that long ago, and it reminds me a lot of Scream 3, like a lot of Scream 3.
Interesting.
Because it's kind of like it all takes place on a movie set, and there's this, like media circus around the psycho killings, and yeah, it's interesting.
Which one is that? What did I miss here?
That is the novel, the sequel novel.
Oh, okay.
Psycho
yeah.
2 that Robert Bloch wrote with the
late
intention
70s,
of
I
it
think.
being the sequel movie as well, but Universal said 9.
wouldn't be
we're going to go straight forward with this.
Yeah, they had someone else write it. Yep.
Scream borrows a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was intentional or borrowed from that book.
I wouldn't either. It's shockingly like there are a lot of similarities. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out.
I wouldn't be me without bringing up the fact that Robert Bloch wrote 3 awesome Star Trek episodes. Two of which I have posters for. What Are Little Girls Made Of, which is right up here on my camera. Cat's Paw, which is down the hallway, and then he did the Jack the Ripper episode, Wolf in the Fold.
I've seen that one.
Yeah,
because I love Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, Scotty gets set up by a spirit of sorts, like an energy or something. But anyway, yeah, good. But he also did The House That Dripped Blood in 71.
Oh yeah.
He did Asylum, The Deadly Bees. I think all of those were Amicus movies. So I'm sure I'll be talking about him in some other way on my other show at some point.
I have a quick theory I want to run past you too. Now, have either of you seen recently Peeping Tom?
No.
No? Okay.
A few years ago, I watched it.
Okay. It's this is the hypothesis. I'm so fascinated by the fact that the same kind of movie just exploded the popularity of one director and ended the career of another, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within 2 months of one another. And I've been thinking about why that might be the case. And I think it's 2 main reasons. The first reason is that Michael Powell is not known for those types of movies, right? He wasn't known as a thriller director, a director that featured murder and crime, right? So when he made Peeping Tom, I think it took a lot of people by surprise just because it was not the type of film they expected from him. Number 2, it was in color.
Mm.
And Hitchcock wanted to shoot Psycho in color, but he couldn't afford it. Since he ended up having to pay for it himself, he went the cheaper route, and he used his Alfred Hitchcock Presents TV crew, and he shot it in black and white. I can't imagine the movie today without at least Vince Vaughn and Hesh to be in color. Like, I can't imagine if somebody went and recolorized Psycho. They probably have done that, I would imagine, at some point. There was the whole recolorization movement in the 70s.
I don't know if that one was ever touched because what Turner did was because he had access to MGM.
Yeah,
that's what he was mostly recoloring, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're probably
the MGM and RKO movies that he was able to have access to.
But I wonder if the fact that it was Hitchcock, the guy who you expect to be scared, the guy you kind of expect to scare you, right, or at least make you uncomfortable. So you're already, and the movie's called Psycho. Let's be real, and the fact that it's in black and white. So some of the the violence is more muted. The shower scene, is terrifying as it is, and it's still one of the most game-changing, terrifying scenes in cinema. It still is like there's that disconnect from it, right? Because it's in black.
The blood doesn't look like blood,
right?
It's like chocolate syrup,
right? Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like, quite literally, it's chocolate syrup, right? But yeah, it's so much easier to take in. Like, I watched that as a kid, and it's the score really that gets you, and the editing, not the blood.
That's another funny thing is that Hitchcock wanted to shoot it in silence. He wanted it to be all silent, and Bernard Herrmann was like, let me see what I can do, and he scored all of it, and and gave it to him, and Hitchcock was like, "Yep, you're right. It's way better," and he gave him a raise.
Score is forget the shower scene. The score is really good in this movie.
It's good all around. It's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah,
and that's it's amazing that this is a television crew.
Yeah,
because that opening pan of Phoenix, and then it like closes in on that hotel window. I mean, that's a great shot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had directed this crew several times. There were many episodes of the TV show that he directed. So I think that honestly, he was really, he had a lot of familiarity that worked in his favor, and plus they could work economically to boot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my favorite scene is the overhead shot where Arbogast gets slashed and killed. That's that just, I mean, you're waiting for something, but you don't exactly expect that.
Yeah.
And
I think that's scarier than the shower scene.
Yeah, it is. I think it is too.
It's like the Exorcist 3 moment, right?
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, like something's coming, something's there, and he's in trouble. But then again, you kind of also think he is. What's funny is that his downfall as a character is being nicer to Lila and to Sam, because she even brings that up. It's like he had a change in his demeanor the last phone call we had with him, and that ultimately kind of was like his downfall, was that he wasn't as sharp anymore.
Was he hired by her boss? Like, do we even know who hired him? I know he's a private investigator, obviously.
I would assume it was either the oil man or the boss.
Yeah,
because
they wanted to keep the authorities out of it.
Yeah.
Because again, 40K in cash. Maybe there'd be some questions about that. And he already said that he doesn't declare it.
Right.
Some tax questions.
Right. And so also the I mean, they didn't want to, they just wanted the money back. They didn't want to throw her in jail or so, but no, that whole character there, the Martin Balsam character, I like that character a lot. I wish he was around longer.
Yeah, it's a good character. I really like Vera Miles in this. I had forgotten how good she is.
Well, she has one fault to her performance.
Is she the sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her fault comes again in that last scene. She gets confirmation that her sister's dead, and she does not react at all.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, sorry. This is his scene. You don't get to react to this death of your sister.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing from her or from, because I think Sam is in that scene too.
Yeah.
Nothing from them. Like, it's almost like, good.
Right. Yeah. You're right. It is odd.
But no, she's really good, and she's kind of unlikable at first.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of gets that because that Sam is not involved, and she almost comes in hot with him, and he has to kind of like he's able to convince her quickly. I don't know. I have nothing to do with this, but like she's kind of unlikable at first, and she's impatient, which, fair, so, but there's qualities to her. It's like, just just take it down a notch and let this play out.
Yeah. She's concerned. She's worried. Sure. She suspects something of Sam Loomis, right? Whether it's, worst case or best case, which is still not great, right?
Right.
She doesn't believe that any of the possibilities are that he has no idea what's going on, right?
Right. Now, she does eventually, I think it's when Arbogast comes in that she realizes, no, he's on the level.
Well, he confirms that for her on the phone. Yeah.
And, so much so, they get married.
Yeah.
In between this and the second movie.
Yeah.
And they have a little Meg Tilly. Spoilers on Psycho 2.
Oh my god, I just put all that together.
Yeah, because their last name is Loomis in the second one.
Oh, yeah. I just forgot it was the same character. Somehow, some way, I'm like, I didn't even know that was the sister from the first
That was
one.
the big critical knock on Psycho 2 is how dirty they did Vera Miles in that.
Yeah.
But but in a way it makes sense, right?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, because like I mean, now she's getting her chance to process her trauma because that shit wasn't happening at the end of the first one. You know, and she's angry.
Yeah.
You know, it's like she wants revenge because she doesn't think this guy deserves to be out. Which is it puts us in an awkward position because we don't want to. I mean, again, Norman is sympathetic. He's such a sympathetic character. You never want to blame him for anything.
He's even more sympathetic in 2 than the first one. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
and but at the same time, you can kind of understand because you don't understand the all the details of his release and how he can just kind of fold back into this town around the motel and it not be taken as a problem. You know, it's like you
Right.
don't understand that. So you can kind of understand why people get a little bit that's for a discussion for another time. But anyway, so at one point like Arbogast says like, "Hey, I'm going to go ask the mother what's going on. I'll see you in about an hour." And 3 hours pass, and you know, and Lila and Sam are like, "Oh, he's not around." And Sam's like, "So what? He's late." But Lila's like not letting go. It's like, "Let's go over to the sheriff's place." And that guy's wife is amazing. Like, they go in, they wake up the sheriff, and they're like, you know, basically saying, "This is what's going on." And they're like, "Well, we know," and this is a little bit of small townism. You know, it's like we know Norman, he's harmless, basically, and they say something about it's like, "Well, this guy was going to go talk to Mrs. Bates," and the wife's like, "He took a wife?" She's like, and then like when he reveals to them, it's like, "Oh no, Norma Bates is dead." And she's like, "I helped pick out the dress myself." It's like, it was just so. And then when they go back over to the place the next day after church, she's like talking about like how we'll have lunch and it'll be much pleasant to fill out the report over lunch or dinner or whatever. And it's like she's bonkers, and I love it. Like she's so helpful as a little old lady.
The way that scene is shot is so interesting. I don't know if it's so interesting. It kind of drives me crazy because it's very much like the kind of shot for TV, cramming everybody into the frame.
Where's this at the house or in front of the church?
Yeah, at the sheriff's house.
Because in the church, like the cops, like, "We got to get out of the way." Like,
no, it's at the sheriff's house when
Okay.
when they're talking and they're saying, "Hey," when it basically tells them the story about Norman's mom, because they fit Sam, Lila, and the wife all into the frame, right? And then the way it's cut, and then shows the sheriff and the wife in the frame, and it doesn't like totally match up. Their eye. It looks
like
the eye line doesn't quite match up, and it just kind of drives me a little crazy.
Why are these people looking over the top of Vera Miles' head? That doesn't make sense.
And I think it's just the way each shot is composed. It looks like there's a different distance, but I don't know. I was watching it and I was like, wait a minute.
I wonder if it's supposed to make you
Where is
feel...
she standing? The wife.
Yeah.
Because she's standing in between them.
Right.
The sheriff and Vera Miles, she's standing in between them, and it's cutting.
Well, and it
camera
seems
A,
like
camera B.
it seems like that the sheriff is also on a couple of the steps. Like he didn't even get all the way downstairs before they like started to tell their story.
Yeah, that could be too. Yeah,
But-
it just kind of it's a dumb thing, but I just noticed it.
So you're saying that this is the worst movie ever made because it's
He
clearly
totally blew
not.
it. He totally blew it.
God.
Good job, Hitch.
Yeah, geez, go get a film school degree or something. But in a way, though, also
I know. I'm sure he had a real tough time spending his 60% of 50 million box office
right.
in 1960. Fuck.
Yeah, it's 30 million. I mean, well, he probably dumped a lot of that back into the birds too.
Probably that made a shit ton of money too.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, but in some ways, though, I mean, sometimes the best movies aren't perfectly made. You know, it's like I said, this movie, there were times where it's like I saw shadows of the crew or of the camera or whatever.
Oh, it was shot like really lean, you know? I mean,
Right.
it was shot fast. It's amazing. It's it's not amazing that it's as competent as it's still Hitchcock, composing every scene, every shot. But I think the thing they spent the most time on was the shower scene.
Well, yeah, that was like a full weekend or something,
Yeah.
or a week, or no, it was a full week, wasn't it?
I think at least. It was something like 70 camera setups.
Well, I know there were two times that Janet Leigh had to postpone, which I'm sure made Hitchcock very pleased.
Yeah, he doesn't like those women troubles.
No, like the first time,
As the girl said.
well, yeah, because she had a cold, and then the second time she was on her period.
Yep.
And I'm sure the second time really incensed him.
Oh, I'm sure. He hated actors anyway, for the most part, from what I understand. He was very much a camera director, not a an actor director. Yeah,
They're just tools to him.
Yeah, most definitely they were. They're a necessary evil.
Yeah.
But apparently, though, I mean, however, the 78 shots or whatever, apparently, though, it was comfortable for her.
Yeah, they kept warm water. They didn't try to method her out,
Right.
Yeah.
And apparently she does not seem to complain about, which, I mean, would you complain if you're in the most famous shot in horror history?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
probably not. Even if the guy's dead, I don't know if you would. I don't know.
I mean, I gather that, Janet Leigh was definitely more protected than some of Hitchcock's other leads later, like Tippi Hedren. She was, had some pretty powerful people in her.
You guys are passing off this Tippi Hedren thing like everybody knows what you're talking about.
Tippi Hedren was famously abused by Hitchcock on The Birds.
Oh.
And apparently that was the thing for Hitchcock, was to kind of psychologically abuse his female leads. He did try to do that a little bit with Janet Leigh on the set of this. He would hide different versions of the mother corpse in like her dressing room and shit.
So did he and Kubrick like high five each other every time they saw each other?
Right. I know exactly. Kubrick he definitely went to the Hitchcock school of fucking with your female lead. Yeah. But yeah, sorry. The Tippi Hedren thing is kind of, he was.
I've probably known and forgotten that over time.
And then she worked with him again on, was it Marnie? And that was even worse.
Yeah, not sure.
Because he kind of blackballed her.
Really?
Yeah.
What a douche.
He wasn't a very good person, Alfred Hitchcock, when it really comes down to it.
You know what? Like the more and more documentaries come up on people and stuff like that, the more I learn all ultra talented people are assholes. I mean, I'm joking, but like a lot of them, even some of my heroes, like I'm like, Kurt Vonnegut was really terrible to his family.
Yeah.
Like, how is that? How can this man specifically, be terrible to his family? It doesn't make sense. But
Yeah.
Finding out a lot of negative things about people is kind of sad.
I still haven't watched that documentary. I need to watch that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I mean, it's probably the the mindset of an artist. Probably a vast majority of them are.
I don't know. I'm an artist. I got to go ask my family if I'm terrible to them.
I just think it boils down to everybody's got some demons, man. Everybody's.
Well, I mean, I know that the three of us are
If you put anyone under a microscope, you're bound to find something dirty about them, for sure.
Oh, sure. And celebrities are, I mean, they're the most under the microscope, and and directors all the time get stories told about. It's not like today where all the special features talk about how much of a big family they are on set. Horse shit.
Yeah.
They all hate each other for those 3 months that they're together. It's only when they can get away from each other do they actually like each other.
But anyway, I don't know how we even got onto that.
Jeff digresses. Let's move on.
I digressed.
I did. He digressed. That wasn't me.
I digressed. Where the hell are we? Oh, let's talk about Saul Bass real quick.
Yeah. So the opening credits. I know you're a big fan of opening credits. How do you feel about opening credits?
I love opening credits, and Saul Bass was one of the best. He was one of the best, and he made one of the best with Psycho. He's one of the simple, best. Perfect. I love the fracturing of the word in the title. It just says so much with just very little.
I don't know for sure, so I may be talking partly out of my butt here. But I feel
partly.
I feel like this Saul Bass, certainly at least, and maybe Psycho directly, had a huge influence, at least on the Dr. No title sequence.
Now, of course, always got to bring it around to Bond.
Well, I brought it to Star Trek earlier. So
I wouldn't be surprised, though, because it's right in the same era, and Bond was known for its title sequences.
Well, later they got a lot more, but like Dr. Knows all the dots and the way that it shifts around the screen, kind of like the lines in Psycho. I don't know. Just putting that out there. I like
to think of Saul Bass as kind of like the Hollywood Matisse, right? He kind of did the cutout graphic design where he would you could tell he was layering.
Did he do Dead Zone?
Construction paper, that kind of stuff. The Dead Zone? I don't think so.
No, I don't think he did.
He did a lot of stuff, though.
This one I thought was beautiful. While you're looking at that, I thought it was beautiful.
Well, what you would recognize more than anything right off the bat is some of the posters he did.
Yeah,
like the yellow and black Shining poster with the ghost and the T. That was him. The really famous orange and black West Side Story poster. Anatomy of a Murder is another one. He did the title sequence for that as well. Vertigo. He's just. Yeah, I think he did a title sequence of Vertigo too.
Interesting.
But he also was a logo designer for corporations. Like if you look at his Wikipedia and look at all the logos he designed, it's wild. The guy was genius. Like truly, probably. I mean, one of the top 10 graphic designer of all time, Saul Bass, no doubt. Still kind of being copied today.
Directed a single movie.
Yeah. Phase 4, good flick. I just watched it for the first time a couple of days ago, just on a whim because it came upon me in my research, and I said I'm going to watch that. And it
came upon me on the back of an ant,
and it's a damn good movie too. Only one he ever made. The only reason it was only one he ever made was because it was a huge flop.
Interesting.
But pretty good flick. It's got our boy Michael Murphy in it. Chuck, the dad from Dead Kids.
Oh yeah, okay, nice.
Old Tanner.
I like it.
Tanner 88. He was a Robert Altman guy. All right. Wow, we're way diversion now. I'm like talking about
You guys are
Phase
psycho.
4. But all right. So this is, I think, what I wanted to say ultimately about Saul Bass is that he storyboarded the shower sequence. In addition to the title card, the title sequence, he got pictorial consultant credit on this for storyboarding the shower scene, and he was commissioned by Hitchcock to do so. And then when he came back with the results, there were, I think, 48 storyboards, and Hitchcock wasn't so sure about it. It was like, this is a lot of cuts. Like, is this going to work? You know, this is not how we usually do things.
That's the only way it works, right? Like,
Kinda. I mean, I can't. Can you imagine any other way?
no, and there's no like knife. I don't know if like in America you couldn't do this. No knife insertion, no
Yeah.
like bleeding wounds. Like the only way to create the illusion that she's getting stabbed
Yeah.
is all those cuts, right?
Yeah.
At least it's. I mean, the cuts are the cuts.
Yeah.
The
And
cuts
he
are the
shot-
cuts.
He did add a couple things. He added where the knife just about penetrates the stomach but doesn't. If you notice, there's that one quick cut.
Yeah, like presses on it a little. Yeah.
Yep, he added that. He added I think the blood down the drain was one he added. He added, maybe 3 or 4 additional cuts to the sequence. But for the most part it was Saul Bass's storyboards that he shot.
That's interesting. I really like that shot of her life going down the drain. Like it's the literal kind of thing. Like normally I'd be like, oh, that's a bit, ham-fisted or
For
cheesy
1960,
or
pretty good, yeah.
yeah, it's real good here. Like I'm just looking at a drain and I love it.
I like the fact that it's a relatively open drain, so you could get the hair caught in there.
Norman keeps the place clean. I mean, he's bored all the time.
He changes the sheets every week. Yeah.
He doesn't like that musty smell. He just, because it's cold and damp like a grave or whatever there.
But he says, I love that. He starts to try to describe it and he can't. He says, I don't know, just creepy,
Yeah.
Like, ooh.
Oh, I don't like that.
It's like something that creeps Norman out,
Yep.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's still like
But also, don't you think maybe his mom kind of smells like that?
No.
Oh,
Not anymore.
because she's preserved.
She's preserved. He talked about how
Maybe
much
that's why he's so diligent, because he can't stand that smell.
Well, he
Right.
taxidermied his mom dirty.
Right.
He talked
That
about
wasn't
how,
directed at you. That was directed at me. Just
Yeah, no, because he tips his hand in that, where it's like the only cost I ever had was the chemicals, and he talked about he almost made that sound like that was unusually expensive.
Yeah.
Well, because he's got to do it to his, it's like
No, I mean, there's
spent
no
a
way
lot on
Janet
a
Leigh
person.
would have picked up on that. But
Well, no, but he's telling us that it's like, don't be surprised once you see his mom. Yeah, I know what's going on. He pumped her full of goo.
Of goo.
Of taxidermy goo, taxigoo.
after he pumped her
Sawdust.
full of poison, right?
Sawdust and
Was
Yeah,
it poison?
sawdust.
Did he poison her, or did he?
It's the same shit he gives the old lady and his real mother in Psycho
Oh yeah. Oh, spoilers. Although that is pretty great when he fucking clubs her with a shovel.
2. That's a fucking wild movie now that
It
I think
is.
about it.
it is.
It's insane. Like it's held together by Meg Tilly, pretty much, or Jennifer. Which Tilly is it? Is it Meg?
Meg. That's
Yeah,
Meg.
she's so awesome in that. But anyway, back to this Psycho.
Yeah, so right. I mean, I guess we're tiptoeing and dancing around, not really wanting to talk about the final act, because at that point it does kind of devolve into kind of genericness. It's
It doesn't know where to go. It's almost
Right.
like they
it
don't
shot
know
it shot, and now it doesn't know what to do.
If they made this movie today, they would just have Anthony Perkins standing in the window to end the movie, right? Like he'd still be out there. You wouldn't have this whole shit, right? Like,
Right. So, yeah, because it's like then you got to figure out like Vera Miles and what's his face?
Sam.
Sam Loomis.
Yep.
They need to go and get their confirmation that something's wrong.
Yeah, because Argus Starp or whatever.
Argus Starp. Yeah, that's his name. Argus Starp.
He disappears, right? He's
Right.
supposed to call
Arbogast has disappeared.
it Argus Starp.
Argus Starp.
Argus
Yeah.
Starp.
Was it the cop that called him Arbogast?
Yeah.
Something like that. It was really funny how they. Anyway, but yeah,
Arbogast.
so they, so they have to go, and they're going to go and figure that all out, and so now it's like it's the typical like, they're posing as a couple, but then they abandon that story immediately by just saying they're on business trip, and that they don't have any bags.
We don't look the look of that sky.
Yeah, they don't like it's sunny.
So I have a question about this because it's confusing. Like, what do they actually think they're going to find there? Do they think? Well, I guess once they find out that Norman's mother is dead, then suspicion like completely shifts to his ass, right?
Right. The plan was to coax
they
the
don't
information
even necessarily
out
believe
of
that. Sorry.
The plan was Arbogast said he was going to go talk to the old lady. So they're going to go talk to the old lady, thinking, well, she's just some invalid, so we'll just get the information out of her.
Yeah.
I think that's what. So they don't know. They don't have any real.
Yes, this is before they find out that Norman's mother is dead. No. Now I can't remember.
No, well, it's her. It's Vera Miles snooping around the Bates house.
I know that. I'm just trying to put that.
They don't go there until after they talk to
the cop.
The sheriff.
Yeah,
sheriff.
They talk because
Vera Miles doesn't go to the hotel until they pose as a couple to stay there. Yeah.
Well, why don't they believe the cop?
Well,
that's
the
even
cop,
stupider.
The cop isn't unbelievable. The cop is saying, "I'm not going to do anything."
Yeah. But he says the mother is dead, but they still think there's a mother there.
Well, they think something is there.
Well, because Arbogast was certain of it.
Oh yeah, you saw her in the window.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're going on what Arbogast told them, and they're like, "Oh, I bet you his mom is still alive, and he's just like covering for her."
Right? And because at one point the cop says, "Then who is buried?"
And it keeps
in Norma's grave.
He does say that, and so it keeps the audience guessing too, right? It's designed to put doubt in, is she dead or is she not dead? There's no definitive word on this, other than the fact that there's probably a fucking death certificate, but whatever.
Well, but she might have faked her death because she was blamed for killing her new guy,
right?
Which we find out later.
A murder-suicide is what they said it was. Yeah. Right.
So she killed him, so she faked her own death is what the thought may be. But they got to go 10 years on that. That would be difficult, but whatever. But yeah, so I mean, they still think that there's somebody in that house that Arbogast got information from, and either something happened to him or he took off. They're never actually, like, one of their suspicions is that Norman's the killer, and so they're right from the start. I mean, but Arbogast thinks that Norman's covering for anyway, for Marion.
Boo.
So I mean, like, Vera Miles
Arbogast is like, oh, she's here. Yeah. And that's the thing. Arbogast is either that woman I saw is his mother, as he said, or it's
Marion.
Right.
That sheriff is a dickhead too, because 2 people have disappeared after being at that hotel, and he don't give no shits.
Yeah.
Right. Well, again, it's kind of taking care of his own, and he can't be arsed to deal with that. It's like,
I guess. I mean, that's what cops do. They're supposed to follow up on stuff like that.
Well, they also have a great deal of sympathy for Norman, too. He lost his mother. He lives there alone.
Right.
He's a hermit. He's bothered by stuff. Just leave him alone. It's like they must have gone someplace else. Yeah. He has no business.
He hasn't caused any trouble in 10 years. Yeah.
Which makes you think, well, if that's the case, then they probably suspect that he did cause trouble 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's, Anyway, they deal with Norman very badly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean,
but the cop is bad. I mean, this is a sleepy, tiny ass roadside thing. It's like he's just not. He doesn't want to mess with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so what do? They go to the hotel. They're like, I'll keep him busy. You go to the house.
Right. And so how Sam keeps him busy is like practically shining a light in his face and interrogating him hard. It's like, dude, it's like, because he says, well, it's like, because the concern was there's no way we can keep him in one place. And I think Sam thinks that he's just going to, like punch him out or something.
Yeah, it's weird.
But he is not a very good hero. He's kind of a loser.
Is anybody here? Nobody's really a hero in this movie.
Not really. I mean, I can have some sympathy for Sam because, it's like the debt thing is obviously a support thing, right?
I have no sympathy for him because I don't know why he's divorced.
Well, fair enough.
Like, he's probably sleeping with another woman and got a divorce, and that's why he has to.
Well, he is down to fuck all the time in this.
Yeah.
Like that first scene he wants to go again. He's got his stamina back. He's ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, really, honestly, there are no really good people in this movie. Like, zero.
Well, Lila, I'd say Lila.
I don't think Lily's done anything wrong. Yeah.
Yes, she has. No, I don't know. What?
Well,
Lila's.
Till they do her dirty in the sequel.
Yeah, she's not a good person, right?
Well, I mean, I guess in the end, she apparently is also a sociopath because she doesn't react to her sister's death.
That's true.
Being confirmed.
That's true.
Right.
So, they're all bad.
I'm joking around a little bit, but yeah, most of the people, like, the most likable character in the whole entire film is our murderer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's on purpose for sure.
Yeah, no, I know.
And it's a hypnotic performance. You know what I mean? God, like when he's first on screen, it's like, damn it, man. Anthony Perkins was a handsome man.
So
yeah, he is.
His personal life's a little sad, though.
Yeah, very.
It
very
is.
sad.
He disappeared from the public for many, many years because of some stuff, right?
Well, he was ultimately basically, it was kind of like a pray the gay away situation.
Yeah.
Where he just refused to, like he swung in a super far direction to basically just ignore the fact that he had at least bisexual feelings, if not homosexual. So yeah, it's an unfortunate situation there. But
if you've seen, just for our listeners as well, if you haven't seen the queer horror documentary on Shudder, I recommend. There's a very good segment about Anthony Perkins, and there's specifically a segment within that segment with his son Oswald Perkins talking about his dad. That is very good.
Yeah.
Kind of the final word, in my opinion, on his dad and his legacy is really quite touching. Yep.
No, but and I'll also say, it's like, I don't know about his character, but again, I'm going to give big thumbs up to Simon Oakland being in this. when you spend 24 hours with one character on a show, you like it when he shows up in other things.
Oh man.
But no, I mean, it's incredibly intelligent that our sympathetic character is the bad guy, because it's okay to be skeeved out by that.
Yeah, because
that's what a psychopath and a sociopath will do.
And it's what makes that final reveal so shocking too. Like I would kill to have been in an audience. And that final scene in the basement, right? Not the final scene, but
who would you kill to be there? Name people.
I would kill Marion Crane first. Then Inspector Arbogast.
Well,
That's
what
funny.
about two randos that are just happen to stop in for the for a night over
If
the past
they
few
needed
years?
killing, yeah. But yeah,
I like the fact that you also there's a little bit of a misdirect also about like because at first it looks like he's going to send Marion to like cabin 3 or something like that,
yeah.
and then she says she's from Los Angeles, and then he changes his mind.
He's like, that's a murdering too.
Yeah, right. You better believe that's a murdering. But no, but you don't realize that. You don't realize until later that he's doing this because he's attracted to her, not
Right.
not that she's a Los Angeles person. Fuck, kill her. Hate the Rams. And
I mean, he doesn't plan on killing her. He just wants to look at her. His
Yeah,
mom
he wants to
tells
peek
him to
peek
kill her.
through the wall. Yep.
Yeah.
Super creepy.
But he wasn't originally going to do that. I mean, you would think that he would like see any woman alone and just immediately put them in the peeping room.
Right. Yep.
But he changes his mind.
He does.
He has criteria, whatever they are. He has
Well,
criteria.
yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like not only is he, not only is he sympathetic, but he's also very calculating and deliberate too. It's only when he can't. It's only when he can't be his mother that he stumbles when basically being pressed, and he apparently has no real intention on killing men except for Arbogast. I think is just to protect the secret, but he could have very easily have just killed Sam when he showed up, but he didn't.
True.
He
Yeah.
just kind of stumbles around until it's necessary to protect the secret.
Right. Well, he's got to disassociate. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to have that other voice come in and tell him to handle it.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's triggered when the secret's about to be revealed in a couple of instances.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't have much more to say about this movie, honestly. I really like the first 2/3, but yeah, it really does kind of
It gets
become almost
little,
uninteresting.
Yeah, it's a little
Yeah.
generic for the finale, and then the final scene just feels like it had to be explained. I mean, in a way, it's you have to explain why he's this way. It's almost like you have to psychoanalyze why a guy was wearing a dress, which is that's a little goofy.
Yeah.
But what it still does is it makes you sympathize that much more with Norman.
The final shot is great. Right.
Oh yeah. Oh, the final
with
moment.
mother in his head and talking, and that's good stuff. And how she thinks that she's gonna just get by on her charms, right? On
Yeah,
mother.
right.
She doesn't even realize that she only exists inside of Norman, which is fascinating to me.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't really exist at all.
Right.
Do we need to
But-
bring
but
Simon
that-
Oakland
but
in
that
here
form
to
of-
explain this to you?
Yes, please.
Call it Kolchak while you're at it.
Oh, sure.
No, that is good. Like the way you leave the movie is
It's
kind of haunting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's you get a little shiver from it.
yeah.
And it is as much as it, again, you can't blame this movie for what other movies will do later, but the superimposing of her corpse over his face as just as it switches to pulling the car out of the swamp.
I almost feel like I need to watch this again. I will at some point in time, but that scene at the end where he's hearing his mother and he's smiling is just like the scene earlier with Janet Leigh in the car.
Oh yeah.
Like she's hearing voices and smiles, and then you have it at the very end. Like I wonder how many more moments of
The
like
disembodied voice. Yeah.
yeah, or just moments where her life mirrors his life, like because it splits right in the middle, right? Almost.
Yeah. Splits.
Yeah, it splits. It's just wild to me that you kill off your main character, and then you spend the rest of the movie with the murderer.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when the movie drags, it's because the murderer's not.
It's not there.
It's not
It
there.
flips. It flips from him again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
I still think this is one of the most important horror films ever made.
Most certainly it is.
You're not the only one that thinks that, Jeff. I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure that's probably
One of the
true.
most analyzed movies of all time as well, I would say. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and I figured, there wasn't going to be too much more to put in.
Not a lot of juice left in this orange. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, at least we can kind of, whenever we do our Hitchcock month at some point, nobody has to ask, why didn't you pick Psycho?
Right.
Well, we've
It's
already done
in
it
the
now.
can.
It's already in the can.
Yeah.
It's already in the orange juice can
Yeah.
It's already in the trunk at the bottom of the
at the
pond.
swamp. Yeah.
It's only halfway down. We got to wait to see.
It's a nervous wait, though.
Yeah.
I will say, though, this is one of those movies that, I mean, when I was a little kid, it was on TV all the time. It was always around.
Yeah.
Before long, it's going to get another run at the theaters, with like a anniversary run or something,
Yep.
That'll come up before too long, probably by 2025 or so.
It started a franchise for better or worse. There were 3 sequels. There was a TV sequel.
Prequel.
Prequel, yeah.
The TV show, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was the recent TV show.
Right. There were 2 TV shows. One was a sequel. One was a prequel.
A remake.
Right.
A remake, a shot-for-shot remake. I wanted the joke coming into this episode that was the one I watched and not this one.
Wait, which one?
The Vince Vaughn one. So I totally fucked that up.
It wouldn't matter, though. You've kind of seen the same movie, right?
Kinda.
It's a shot-for-shot remake.
There's a big difference between Janet Leigh and Anne Heche.
Oh, I know. I mean, the story is the same as all I meant.
Well,
I did a little quick research on that because I figured it would come up. The Gus Van Sant remake, and it really was from the start almost like a joke.
he's coming off of Good Will Hunting, so it's like, fuck it, I'll just remake Psycho.
Ever since Private Idaho, my Private Idaho, he would get pulled into these meetings in studios, and he said that he was this director that no studio really wanted to work with, but that the actors they wanted to work with him, like Keanu Reeves and River Phoenix, right, and these people. So they would reluctantly work with him so that they could get to the actors that they wanted, right? So they were always trying to find like the project that would overlap perfectly with his sensibilities and the studio sensibilities. So every time he would go into pitch, he would always pitch. It's like all you guys want to do are make sequels and franchise things. He's like, what if we did this? What if we made a really popular movie and just did it exactly the same? We didn't update it. We just made the exact same movie, and let's see what happens. And maybe it'll be a hit again, right? And they would just roll their eyes at him like, whatever, we're not going to do that. And he was like, yeah, I don't know why they would, but it's still funny. So he would always pitch it. So then when he won the Academy Award for Good Will Hunting, everyone wanted to work with him. And when he was nominated, when he was even nominated, he said what happens usually is when you get nominated, everybody tries to pitch you something and get you signed to your next picture so that at the award ceremony, they can nudge their buddy next to them and say, yeah, I just got him working on my next picture. I got his next picture, right? So when his agent called and said, Universal's interested in working with you on your next picture, what do you want to do? And he thought about it, and he's like, Psycho. Let's make Psycho. Shot for shot, no changes, just do Psycho. And he was like, they're never going to go for this. And his agent comes back, it's like, they love it.
And it really goes to show you how much studios just don't fucking get it.
Yeah.
Because that was a butt of the joke before it came out.
Did it make money?
No.
I never watched it.
I went
I
and
did.
saw it.
I saw it in the theater.
I did too.
Yeah.
And it was like
Made your money.
It made my $5.25 or whatever 1998 matinee on a Friday afternoon cost. But but I mean, even sitting there, I was like, because it's like, of course, what do? I watch the original, the night before or whatever, and so I go and I'm just like, so, it's
Oh, it's pointless.
And I like the cast, and I know a lot of people ripped on Vince Vaughn being Norman Bates. I didn't have any problem with that.
He played him a little too squirrely.
Yeah, he was a little too squirrely. He was unshaven. He wasn't clean cut. He didn't look put together. But the casting, I don't have any issue with the casting.
Well, I mean, you've got the casting was actually really good all around in this movie. Other than Anne Hesh,
that's an interesting choice for Norman Bates, because him being put together is part of his whole, like, the whole character almost revolves around
Vince Vaughn has
the
never
way you
not
see him.
And Vince Vaughn's never not had 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah, right. Yeah. See, I think the problem is Vince Vaughn would have worked better if he just played it more like Vince Vaughn, right?
Yeah, be charming, be
charming Vince Vaughn.
Yeah,
and let everything else, the character's persona do the creepy for you, right?
Right.
But anyway, I mean, shit, it was shot by Christopher Doyle. It was everything about this was set up to be, a recreation of a fucking masterpiece. And it proved the theory wrong.
Would you still, Steph and I were talking about this earlier, would you still call this film a masterpiece?
Psycho?
Yeah.
I think it's not Hitchcock's masterpiece.
Again, I would say it's a masterpiece of the genre.
Yeah. I would say it's influential. It's not
my favorite
of the genre.
It's not my favorite Hitchcock.
But I mean, no, I mean, I don't think it's a masterpiece. No. But it's certainly. I think it's, if you want to call it a masterpiece, it's a masterpiece of where art meets commerce.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, you got it. See, good job there, Jason.
What a final.
Because the whole package.
Yeah.
As a piece of consumption is masterful, for sure.
Universal is still making money on this movie today. Yeah. Now, I wanted to say a couple of things here, just to put a final point on the whole Vince Vaughn thing. If you want to see him in a good creepy movie, watch The Cell. Yeah,
that's a creepy movie. He's like, he plays it kind of straight in that, though.
Yeah, he does.
It's D'Onofrio who's creepy.
Yeah. But the other thing I was going to say is, like, being, seeing the house and the roadside motel, the Bates Motel and everything. It's like, I don't know if I don't know if all those things still exist, but imagine how freaking cool it would be just out in the middle of fucking nowhere in, like, Death Valley or something, having that recreated. And have, like, like little theme weekends where it's almost like a cruise where there's things coordinated, but it's all, it's just 12 cabins.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
That would be cool.
It'd be a cool little experience to go.
That really would be. You can still go to the sets in Universal.
Yeah, that house has been used for other things.
Yeah, it has. And that house was based on a Edward Hopper painting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Well,
I think we did it. I got there first. I think I did it first.
Chuck?
Yes.
What's happening next Wednesday? Well, next Wednesday is your birthday. Today's my mom's birthday. Oh my God, we did Psycho on my mom's birthday. Mother
That's
would
pretty
be
good.
so proud.
That's pretty good.
I did not do that on purpose at all.
Mother is a
Record
boy's
Psycho,
mother is a
Jeff.
boy's best friend, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is true. Yeah. But next week is your birthday, Chuck, and you picked something from your youth.
Yeah, I did.
Your youth.
My youth. If you can't tell by the two Utes, my cousin Vinny next week. One of my
Boom.
one of my childhood favorites for sure.
It was a very enjoyable watch. I laughed like an idiot throughout this movie.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to hear all about that next week.
Yes, so
You will.
We will. That's going to be episode number 248. We're getting real close to that 250.
Dang.
I know, right? So that is next Wednesday. On Monday, I have Monster Mondays. Both of these shows can be found at filmseizure.com, the various places that we release our podcast. Yeah, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, all those places. You know the spiel probably.
If they're listening to us, they know where we're at. We probably don't even need to tell them anymore.
That's true.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Well, we just saved 5 minutes of every episode now.
I don't know. I just thought of that, but good.
See now, Chuck, now you're taking away minutes from every episode.
You're welcome, Jeff's dad.
But anyway, next Monday starts a whole month of Doctor Who Monster Mondays episodes with the second Doctor and his
nice.
Various clashes with the Cybermen. That was his primary villain during that era. And we kick things off with the Moon Base. And so filmseizure.com. Just go there. And you can listen to all those things. This upcoming Friday on my website, bmovieanima.com, I kick off the third Full Moon feature, Full Moon Fever, rather, for Full Moon Features. And it's a whole month of movies that feature the lovely Jacqueline Lavelle. So we kick things off with Head of the Family, which is probably technically the best of those movies by a long shot. By a long shot. So that's going to be at bmovieanima.com. Yeah, it's a fun one, though, too. So do those things. And next week, we will get into a little bit of trouble down in old Bama.
Yeah.
And call my cousin Vinny. Anyway, so until then, I'm Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.